Welcome to another episode of The Financially Free Investor, where you will learn information and strategies on how to become financially independent by investing in real estate, something that is not taught openly in our society today. Financial freedom matters so you can live a bigger life, retire early, and do what matters most to you. Get ready to hear tried and true methods to becoming financially free with your host, Jordy Clark.
Hey everyone, welcome into another episode of the Financially Free Investor. So today, it's the end of the year. Crazy to think that we are at the end of 2022 and going into 2023. And, I always try to reflect this time of the year. It's typically a little bit slower for me in my profession, which is, as you know, being a real estate agent. Not much happens between Christmas and New Year's. So usually it's a time to, we take off. I spend a lot of time with family. We'll go and do something a lot of the times. And this year, it was awesome. We stayed home, played a lot with the kids, watched movies, and, we got workouts in as a family, which was a lot of craziness and fun. But it's been interesting as I stumble through what I want to say here, thinking about this year, because I think there's years where not a lot happens for us personally, professionally, financially, whatever. And then I think there's years where a lot happens. And I forget what the quote was and who said it. I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's like, you can have decades where it feels like years, and then you can have years where it feels like decades of stuff happens. So, whatever season or change you're going through is, if you're just figuring out, hey, we need to budget and we need to be consistent, you're kind of struggling through figuring out how to tell your money where to go. And trust me, I'm by no means perfect at it. I think it's a progression, and you have to constantly be on top of it. And it's like working out, right? You kind of have to constantly be aware of where your money's going and telling it where to go and what to do. Kind of like you always have to work out and exercise your body and watch what you take in. I'll just relate finances to fitness real quick, because I think there's a lot of overlays that happen there. Financially, it's easy to spend a lot of money, especially during the holidays. With fitness, it's easy to overconsume foods, calories, and be at a place where, whether it's financially or fitness or both, or you consume too much and you expend too little, right? Meaning, you're burning way less calories than you're consuming. Well, what's going to happen? You're going to add on some pounds, and it's probably not pounds that you want added on. So the same thing happens with finances. If you spend more than you make, you're going to add on bad debt. You're going to add on credit card debt. You're not going to be able to pay off car loans. You're not going to be able to save for an investment property that's going to bring you passive income and future appreciation and future loan pay down. All of the things that we're all about here on the Financially Free Investor podcast. You have to figure out, what is a good amount for you to spend financially every month. Kind of like your body needs a certain number of calories and, macros to be able to function properly. Yet, you need to be consuming that. And then if you're burning more calories than you're consuming, and you're eating high quality foods, all of a sudden you're going to start losing weight and adding muscle mass. And, there's no secret there. It's just totally self-discipline. And financially, it's the same. And I wanted to go over this to give you some context, and hopefully be able to help you as you sit down this week. And this weekend's New Year's Eve. A lot of people set resolutions. That's totally great. And I'm going to give you a challenge here at the end of the podcast. So with all of that being said, I think two of the most common New Year's resolutions are, I want to lose weight. I want to get more fit. And, I want to be better with money. I want to pay off credit cards. I want to pay off car loans. I want to invest, and I want to do all of these things. Right. And I kind of just wanted to tackle these two New Year's resolutions and maybe go over a little bit in the hopes that it will help you. And then, I want to go over some 2022 highlights for us. And I'm not going to focus on 2023 right now. But, maybe sit down and take a minute and just do what I did. It took me 5 minutes this morning. I wrote it actually while I was sitting in the sauna after my workout. And, just took 5 minutes and kind of just looked through what was good for us, was good for our portfolio. And I think just taking stock of where you're at is the first step before figuring out where you want to go. And, good, bad, indifferent, like, don't get offended. Don't be ashamed. Don't, whether it's financially or with fitness, just figure out where you're at. Be honest with yourself. And then I think that's the first step before you can set any goals or do anything else, is like, you got to start tracking what you eat. I use a app called MyFitnessPal or MyFitnessBuddy or something. Anyways, I can tell you exactly what I had for breakfast this morning. I had 554 calories. 25% of that was carbs, 27% of that was fat, and 48% of that was protein. So, I can look at exactly everything I ate and, oh, wow, one egg is 107 calories. It's half a carb, 7 grams of fat, and 9 grams of protein. I go, okay, well, wow, this is really good. And as I'm actually looking at this, I'm realizing I made an error, and I counted a little bit more than I actually ate. So I'm going to go in and adjust this on the fly. So I had 483 calories for breakfast, 28% carbs, 22% fat, 50% protein. So now here's what's cool with that, fitness wise, is you can get this. It's $80 for a year subscription. And you may be thinking, holy cow, I'm never going to spend that. Well, if you're not going to spend $80 on yourself and your health, you probably shouldn't be investing for financial freedom, because without your health, you could have as much money in the world as billionaires, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, whoever you want to pick out. And if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Because a wealthy man sitting in a hospital bed, dying, he can't buy his health. So first and foremost, I want you guys to be healthy going into the next year. So my one recommendation is going to be, take a minute, download the MyFitnessPal app. If you're already using it, great. If you're using something similar, great. I just happen to use this, so that's why I'm saying it. But track what you eat and just do it for a week or 3 days or whatever. But just like, no judgment, figure out where you're at. And then you can set goals from there. And, maybe you do need that gym membership. Maybe you buy some weights for home. Maybe you decide, hey, you know what? I live in an area where I can go hike, I can go run, I can go walk, ride mountain bikes, ski, do whatever, right? And build that into your plan for just living a great life. I think that's the most important thing you can do. Financially, do the same thing. Sit down and, just look at the past 60 days, November and December, just print out your bank statement and credit card statement. It's going to take some time, but it's free. And there's also for sure other apps that you can take a look at what you spend, but I just use a simple spreadsheet, honestly. In fact, if you want a copy of this spreadsheet, I'm happy to send you a copy. Just email me at thefinanciallyfreeinvestor@gmail.com with a spreadsheet in the title or whatever, and I'll get you a copy of that. Really, all you have to do is just sit down and categorize. How much did I spend on groceries? How much did I spend on gifts? How much did I spend on charitable donations? Giving back. How much did I spend on my mortgage? How much were my car auto expenses? How much were my hobby expenses? And just detail out all of your expenses. No judgment. Just figure out where you're at, right? And if you want to go the extra mile, you could do the past 12 months, but I promise you 60 to 90 days is probably enough. And this is a great time of year. You may be saying, hey, I don't want to do it this time of year because of Christmas or whatnot. Well, guess what? If this is the most expensive time of year and you can figure out, hey, this is how much we spent. Well, now going into next year what to plan for next Christmas. And you have 12 months to save for it. It's not a surprise when Christmas comes around. And your credit card bill shouldn't be a surprise either, right? Or your bank account. It shouldn't be a surprise looking at it in December and going, holy cow, I didn't realize it was Christmas, right? Like no one should have that excuse. So with that being said, you can then take that and go, okay, well, here's some financial goals I want to set. I want to pay off X number of credit card debt or a car loan, or, I want to save this much and buy this many rental properties. I really think I've said this before, and I'll probably do another podcast on this. We in America are wired, we are bred, we are taught to be consumers. If we don't have the next latest thing, or we're not going on the next coolest vacation, or we don't have, the nicest, newest Lululemon color or the newest Stanley color, whatever it is, like we're bred to be consumers. And you have to, if you want to get out of that rat race, you have to take 2 conscious leaps. And I'm going to call them leaps because they're difficult to do. I see a lot of people try to do them. And you have to go from that ingrained spender believer, that spender mindset. It's normal in America to have this. And you have to go, okay, I'm not going to be a spender anymore. And like, that doesn't mean, you're never buying another pair of Lululemon joggers or whatever. But what that means is like, you're going to make a conscious effort to become a saver. And you may go, hey, you know what? Instead of spending this $1,000 on whatever, I'm going to save that. And then, you'll at the beginning, at least for me, instead of saving, we took a little bit and we saved a little bit, but then the rest of it, like we were paying off credit cards, we were paying off cars, and we're just paying off home equity lines of credit, and just paying off that variable stuff that surprises you, and you're like, oh man, I didn't realize I spent so much at Cabela's this month. But it is what it is, right? So you got to go from being a spender to a saver. That's the first big leap. And you have to save your money. You have to protect that money to then be able to make the next big leap, which is where I think it really separates people. And that goes from, you go from a saver to an investor. And that's a big jump, right? And a lot of people are stuck in this spender mentality. They spend, right? And then, Dave Ramsey is great at this, where he helps people shift from being spenders to savers. And then eventually into investors, right? So I think the quicker you can make that transition, it's good, but it's a process. Like it might take years for some people to get there, and that's okay. But if you constantly are looking at what you're spending, just like you're constantly looking at what you're consuming, like fuel wise for your body, then you're going to be able to make these little tweaks and modifications along the way, and it's not going to be so long. So with that being said, I think this exercise, if you take the 5 minutes to do it is going to be great for you in that transition from going from a spender to a saver to an investor. So take a look at your highlights. 2022, look at it personally, professionally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. You can take stock in a bunch of areas of your life and look at your wins, look at your highlights, and focus on that. Don't focus on what went wrong. Don't focus on, if you spent more money than you would have wanted to. Don't focus on any of that. Just focus on what went really well. So I'd like to share some of my highlights, at least on our personal portfolio, real estate side. Okay, so first off, my real estate team did 58 transactions, which we've had years that we've done better. But last year was a great year for a lot of reasons, just based on how the market was, shaping up. Our volume went up, our number of transactions went down, and our gross commission income went up. So those are kind of the three metrics I look at for that. On a personal note, we sold our primary residence and we bought a new primary residence. And, we could have absolutely rented our primary residence out, and that's okay. We just kind of looked at, the tax-free money that we were going to get by selling it. And we were like, hey, it's hard to pass up almost $500K tax-free, right? And now we put a lot of that down on our new primary residence, about half of it. But then, the other half, we were able to go and invest that into income producing assets. And the money where that actually shook out and went was a great buy. We sold a duplex. I owned that with my brother. And for various reasons, we just decided, hey, it's a great time to sell. It was also a great time for the buyer because he got it in with a great interest rate and it cash flows phenomenally. And then, I bought 2 seller finance doors. One of them we partnered with someone on. One of them we bought in a self-directed retirement account vehicle. I sold an office building that I owned. Well, it's not a building, it's an office condo. I just didn't enjoy owning it. I'll probably own some office space in the future or some sort of industrial something. But, for the time being, I was like, hey, I'd rather have this cash, and we sold it. So other than that, we bought a 16-unit apartment with some partners. So that was really fun to think back and do that. And I'd encourage you guys all to do this as well. Just take stock of where your 2022 shook out, and that will allow you to take the next steps in planning as you plan. And I'll probably record another podcast this week to drop maybe on Friday, just about New Year's planning and goals and all of that. So with that being said, guys, cheers to 2022, cheers to 2023. I hope that you are able to make next year better than this year for yourself. And I'd encourage you to measure it against yourself. Don't, compare on Instagram or Facebook or whatever to what everyone else is doing. But with that being said, that's how you improve. That's how you get better. That's how you live a constantly improving life and get towards financial freedom and do what really matters.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of The Financially Free Investor. If you found value in this episode or know someone who would find value in this information, please share with them, subscribe, and send us a review.